Story time about how my friend's husband wants to hook up with me and I kind of want to say yes. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I know everyone in the comment section is going to tell me not to do it. But hear me out. I've known this friend for 6 months now. Let's call her Sally. Sally and I met through some mutual friends. She's just kind of boring. The only real reason we became friends is because our dogs get along. And because they got along, we decided to set up some play dates. Most of the time I would come over to her house because she has a really big yard. So it was good for both of our dogs. FYI, I live in a small apartment, so it made sense for me to go to her house. I would go over to her house once or twice a week, but I actually didn't meet her husband until a few weeks after I started going. So like I said, my friend Sally is really boring. She always manages to take the fun out of everything. Anytime our dogs are playing, she tries to stop them from having fun. She will literally tell them to stop running in her yard where there's no one there. But here's the thing. Today her husband was finally home when I was, and as soon as we met, we were both laughing at everything we were saying. He was so funny, like the complete opposite of Sally. Let me tell you, Sally got jealous right away. In fact, she told me to stop coming over to her house. But her husband found me on Instagram. Part 2 is up. Story time about how my friend's husband keeps trying to hook up with me and I kind of want to. Disclaimer is not my story time, was sent to me on Instagram. After Sally asked me not to come back to her house, her husband found me on Instagram. Let's call him Jerry. Like I said in part 1, Jerry and I hit it off right away. We were like kindred spirits, I swear. We were not just attracted to each other, we made each other laugh. As soon as he followed me on Instagram, I DM'd him. He DM'd me right back. That's when he asked me if I wanted to go get a coffee. And of course I said yes. We ended up getting coffee the very next hour. As soon as we sat down with coffee, he started telling me exactly what he wanted. He told me that his wife is boring, which I totally agree with. Ellie's kind of pretty, but her boring personality just takes all of that right away. So I understand him. I mean, if you guys could see me. Then he told me that he was really attracted to me and that he thought we could have fun. I asked him to be more specific, and he said, let's get a hotel room. I said no. How dare you? I mean, I really did, but I was kind of cute about it. And he's like, come on, I know you want to as well. Told him that I did want to, but that he was a married man. To Sally, who was kind of like my fake friend. Then he asked me to go to his car with him so that we could speak privately. Went into his car, and guess what we did? Part 3 is up. Story time about how my friend's husband keeps trying to hook up with me and I kind of want to say yes. Disclaimer is not my story time, was sent to me on Instagram. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention in part 1 and 2 that I do have a boyfriend. We finally sat down in his car for some privacy. He went straight for it. He started trying to kiss me and grab at me, but of course, I put a stop to it. I mean, I am a respectable woman. I mean, maybe I did let him cop a field or two. After I got home, I really thought about it. A little background on my boyfriend and I. We've been together for 2 years, and honestly, he's a really good match with Sally. Not that he's boring, but he's just not very fun anymore, and the relationship has lost its spark. And to be honest, now that I think about it, I'm just not even attracted to him anymore. But I do feel bad for him, so I don't want to break up with him only for that reason. Which probably isn't the best reason, right? Anyway, Jerry keeps sending me messages asking me to hook up with him. He even made reservations at a really nice hotel, like a really expensive hotel. The reservation is for 3 nights from now. I do want to say yes, but I do actually feel guilty. I mean, I don't really like Sally or anything, but I did meet her first, so my loyalty should be to her, right? I also do feel bad for my boyfriend, but I truly believe that if I told him about this, he wouldn't even care. Vote in the comments yes or no if I should do this. Wish me luck. Bye.
So a lot of people would probably be surprised to know that The Purge was inspired by a true event. So for those of you who haven't seen The Purge, it's a movie about all crime, including murder, being legal for 12 hours straight. It's supposed to be set in this dystopian America, and honestly was like a huge hit. And this has actually been traced back to an ancient Roman festival, which the whole premise of kind of resembles the film. So the festival of Saturnalia would begin on December 17th, and it would always start during sowing season because it was celebrating the Roman god of agriculture, Saturn. The whole thing lasted about a week long, and the only rule was, well, that there were no rules. In terms of partying, the whole experience is described as being very similar to Mardi Gras, in which there was just a ton of booze and absolutely no consequences. But many of the drunken antics were just taken way too far, and people started to use this time to commit theft, vandalize homes, play pranks on one another. Drunken fights would turn into murder, and it was the perfect time to get revenge on someone who had wronged you. And this was not the worst part by any means. The officials were actually in on it, and they would pick a king or queen each year. They would basically just give them the best day ever, let them have festivities, give them a big feast, and let them have, like, pleasurable nights before they would slaughter them on the steps of the Saturn temple in order to make a sacrifice to Saturn. But once Constantine became Christian in, like, 312 AD, this whole festival ended up becoming Christmas. I don't know if you've heard of it, but this whole thing has me wondering, if you had to be in the Purge or something like it, how would you survive it? Go to the next part. So if America turns into a dystopian nightmare, and we all have to purge, how exactly would we be able to survive the purge? I was thinking a lot about this, and this is a really well thought out thought, but the best way to survive the purge would simply be to just be rich. It's as simple as that. But no, really, if you can afford to not being around during the purge, I would get the heck out of there and take a vacation. There are absolutely no rules saying that you can't leave once the purge starts. The issue with this, though, is that there is absolutely no way that a ton of other people aren't going to have that same exact idea. So this is going to potentially cause a lot of air traffic at the airport, flights delayed, so I would recommend, like, getting out weeks ahead of time. I used to think that a high-tech security system would be very beneficial during the purge, but honestly, considering the fact that like 55% of all murders are people that you know, such as co-workers, ex-lovers, spouses, I don't know if a security system would necessarily stop them or that you would even like register that they're a threat. And the other thing is just to avoid major cities. I feel like the less densely populated, the better chance you might have. So due to that, I honestly just wouldn't even stay home at all, and I also wouldn't tell anybody else where you're going. But if you can't afford to take all that time off from work, I would definitely purchase a boat. There are so many lakes around the US, and you could honestly go to any ocean. The only thing would be to stay far away from the shoreline. Being far out at a lake, at an ocean, would make you so much harder to reach. But the thing is, like, don't go to the same lake or ocean each year. Like, switch it up. You don't want someone tracking what you're doing. If you can't afford a boat or you're far away from lakes or oceans, another option would be the forest, which sounds absolutely terrifying and creepy to be in the middle of a forest during this, but it blocks your line of sight and it also helps to muffle sound. And if absolutely none of this is an option and you live in a very densely populated city, I would recommend just hiding in a dumpster. If you actually decide to participate in the purge, which I highly recommend that you don't because it doesn't seem like a lot of people come out of that okay, definitely wear a mask because that will hide your identity the next day so that people don't know that you participated. And if you guys are curious on not only how to beat the purge, but actually get rid of the purge entirely if it ever were to happen, come over to my Instagram reels because I'm going to be talking about it over there. I can't find a bat, so I have a stick. Happy purging.